What's up, guys? I'm Brandon, this is Kalie, and today we're talking about how Kalie drove this 2015 Model S 70D and made $8,000 while driving it for about 9 months and 30,000 miles. Let's head inside and go over the numbers. We're now inside, and let's go over some of the numbers and the timeline and just kind of the details of how we came out ahead on purchasing the Tesla. My number, or purchasing and selling the Tesla, the number I said in the intro wasn't quite right. My mental math slightly off, but we'll give you the exact number here in a moment. So Kalie, why don't you tell us when you purchased the Tesla, the mileage you purchased the Tesla, and how much you paid for it?
Okay, so I purchased it in late October, early November. That's when we dealt with the deal. I have some notes here, so if I'm looking down, that's why. We purchased it with 181,417 miles. And then when we sold it, I think 2 days ago now, that's why we're in different clothes, we sold it with 210,818 miles. So what else should I?
So we drove it 29,401 miles, just shy of 30K in about, 9 months-ish?
Yeah.
All over the country. I mean, check out some of the previous videos. And we've actually picked up the replacement for this Tesla, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can see when we post about that. I don't think you're going to know what it is. It's definitely something a little different.
Yeah.
But Kalie, what kind of expenses did you have over the course of owning your vehicle? Any highlights, anything that you wish it had improved on, or anything like that before we get to some of the final numbers?
Yeah, so when I purchased it in, let's just call it November, I purchased it for $22,500. And since the main reason I bought this car was the lack of expenses, because at the time I was unemployed just because of the pandemic, essentially. So the lack of expenses such as gas was really appealing to me, not having a steady income. So the free supercharging really helped out. I saved tons of money being on the road with that.
So I actually have the number for that. With the free supercharging, we supercharged it 337 times at 231 different superchargers. We used about 7.8 megawatt hour, or about 7,700 kilowatt hour. And if you calculate that at the national average for supercharging of about 28 cents a kilowatt hour, we saved over $2,170 just in free supercharging.
Yeah, so as far as expenses go with the car itself, obviously I didn't have to pay for any of that charging. I mean, we charged at a few locations every once in a while when it was more convenient, but overall we rarely paid for charging. We probably spent less than $50 the whole time on various chargers.
I would say even that's a little bit high, probably closer to maybe $20 or $30. And we really only paid for charging when
it made more sense.
When it gave us some other benefit also, like really easy or really convenient parking, or
somewhere we were already going, but we need a charge. Like one time we went to REI and we charged at EVGO, which was kind of expensive, but we were there and we were trying to get out as quickly as possible.
And occasionally we used some Electrify America chargers just because it was the more convenient option, even if it did require paying a few dollars here and there.
Yeah. So as far as other expenses really go, the biggest thing that cost me money was totally optional. That was my MCU2 upgrade. That was a little over $1,500 after taxes and everything. We had that done in Florida?
No, Texas in your car.
Right, yeah.
Florida was my car.
Yeah, yours was cheaper because we had it done in Florida.
Slightly cheaper taxes.
Yeah. So that was that. That was the most expensive thing, which was totally optional, but made, especially being on the road, made a huge difference. The navigation loaded so much faster. I was able to actively use Netflix and Hulu.
It was just a much better experience.
Yeah. Voice command actually was usable.
Well, and your old MCU had 3G connectivity instead of LTE, so that was a huge improvement in reliability and just the app actually working.
Yeah.
It was pretty apparent that the the original MCU was on its way out. It did have the chip replaced at one point by a third party with the previous owner, but I think it was failing again, or other components of the MCU were failing because it was just the performance was not there.
And there was the slight, I mean, your bubbling on your screen was way worse when we had yours replaced, but the slight bubbling was starting on mine, and I'm way too, I would not be able to, I would not be able to sit and stare at that all day, every day while we were on the road too.
Yeah, so what she's talking about is the LCD, the different layers of that screen panel actually delaminate, and then it causes a bubble that happens on both the instrument cluster and on the MCU touchscreen. And with doing the MCU2 upgrade, you actually get both of those screens replaced. So it's a really good value at $1,500 plus tax, so depending where you are, roughly $1,700. If you have an older Model S or X, definitely recommend it. Yeah. Even if you're not planning on keeping it, it makes it easier to sell too.
I mean, if your car is in good condition, it makes it feel like it's a whole new car essentially, because the computer system in the Tesla is the big thing that you pay the most attention to when you're driving. So, I mean, that and
so as far as battery degradation,
I'm not done.
Oh, okay. Continue.
But other than that, I didn't really have to have many expenses. We had to replace the wipers once, which I did at Tesla because we were there. That was when we did your MCU too.
Yeah, I just
bought them there. That was like $50 to $60, which I probably could have gotten them cheaper if somewhere else. But
it was convenient for the right ones.
And then
we did one
door handle. What was that? The driver passenger.
Passenger rear, I believe, and I think that was roughly 300 parts labor. I had the EV tuning kit already from my car, and then we paid a friend of mine to do it just because we were in Arizona and I didn't feel like doing it with the limited tools I had. Oh, and we did 2 cabin air filters, about $40-ish for the 2 of those.
Yeah, I think they were about $15 each, so more like $30, but still minor expenses.
Yeah.
And then my insurance was my big month-to-month expense.
Yeah, Kalie's young and I'm young, so our insurance is just not
ridiculous.
Cheap. Yeah. As far as battery degradation, I know people are going to ask about that with selling a car with 210,000 miles. So when we purchased this car, I believe the previous owner was doing a lot of short trips and that the battery management system was a bit confused. It was displaying 208 miles at 100% charge. And when we sold it, it would actually charge up to 212 miles at 100%. So if we're going by rated range at 100%, it actually gained about 4 miles of range. I know that's not the best way to gauge range, so don't call me out on that down below. But as far as display to rated range, there was no degradation. In fact, going up is a bit optimistic, but stayed the same.
Yeah. After 30,000 at the high mileage.
And we supercharged the crap out of it.
Yeah. Pretty much every charge was a
almost
supercharge.
Exclusively supercharging, except for 110 when we could, and hotels with destination charging.
I mean, it was an odd day if we did not supercharge it at least once.
Yeah, I would say on average we probably supercharged every day that we owned the car. Well, yeah, 337 times and you owned it less than a year.
True.
We averaged over 1 supercharge per day.
Yeah.
And oftentimes 3 to 5 supercharges in a day, realistically.
Yeah.
So what did you end up selling it for? What did you list it for? How did we sell it? Things like that.
So we kind of listed it with the mindset of if it sells great, if it doesn't, we'll just keep it. So we listed it at $30K because that's kind of the range that we were comfortable that it made sense for us to sell it. And I mean, everyone's going to lowball you. Like they're going to come in with lower offers. No one's really going to be willing to pay what you posted for the most part. That's just how car sales work.
At least in private party sales.
Yeah. So we listed it for 30, and one woman came back and made it sound like she wanted to pay the 30. So we talked to her for a while, and then she told us she was actually more interested in it at 29, which was fine. That was still plenty within the range that we were comfortable accepting at. So I actually did end up. She came down. She was in Virginia, and we did end up selling it to her for that full 29.
Yeah. So I think we did pretty well on it.
Yeah.
We essentially came out. I mean, $6,500 if you are just going purchase price to sale price. About $5,000 if you include the larger expense, the MCU2 factored in there. But to even come out even on driving a car for 30,000 miles is fantastic, let alone ahead at all.
Well, even like I did the math the other day, and like even with calculating my ridiculously priced insurance in, I think I still came out like I mean, very minimal. It was probably 1,000 or 2,000 or something. But I came out ahead, even with my ridiculous insurance included. So.
Yeah, and the car kind of needed tires, so that was kind
Yeah.
of part of why we listed it for sale.
Yeah.
I mean, it has some rock chips. It's a car with 200,000 miles that didn't have any paint protection film, so exterior needed some love. Interior was actually in very good condition for the mileage. And even just in general, back seat was hardly used.
Yeah.
But we basically took advantage of the very inflated used Tesla market and decided to get something else, which you're going to see very soon.
We're excited about it.
Yeah, we already picked that up yesterday.
Yeah.
We haven't driven it a ton, but we're going to be doing some videos with that today, so don't wonder about the same outfits in the next video too.
Yeah. And leave any comments if you have any more questions. We'll try to stay on top of them, answer anything that you might still have. And you will be seeing our new car in the next video?
One video after, I'll have a road trip video in between.
Okay. Yeah.
So
stay tuned for that.
So we're going to be posting some road trip videos from in the past. I'm still catching up on all the editing of those, but we're also going to be posting more of our new car and the adventures we're having with that.
Let us know if there's anything you want to see on that too.
Yeah, be sure to hit the subscribe button, like if you enjoyed it. And if you have a used Tesla that you own right now, it might be worth considering at least a trade offer of Vroom, Carvana, CarMax offer. You might end up ahead and be able to get a new Tesla or something different and get what you paid for your car. So definitely consider it. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye!